I'm really excited to introduce you to the emotional freedom technique, or tapping. Tapping is a fast-acting, self-administered technique that works to help lower stress levels in your system and helps you regain or improve self-control. It's called tapping because we use our fingers to tap on our body's energy system. So what we do is tap on the endpoints of meridians that run along our body's electrical highway. Now, it's sometimes also called psychological acupuncture because it blends Eastern medicine and modern psychology. The points that we tap on correspond to points used in acupuncture, and tapping on these points has been scientifically proven over and over again to lower stress levels in the body. And at the same time, we're focusing on an issue or a problem that is causing us some psychological distress. So as we focus on that issue, we turn on the threat centers in our brain. And then we engage in tapping to send a contradictory message to the brain, telling it to calm down. So in the short term, tapping works to calm our nervous system. But over time, our brain learns to read events differently. So yes, we are changing neural patterns through this process. Events that previously held a strong emotional charge are reconditioned, and our brain sees that event and says, oh, that thing, yeah, I can handle it, because we've taught it that. So this is a skill that expands your window of tolerance, and it keeps you in charge of your emotional well-being. It's a mental health tool that is easy to learn. It's easy to do. It costs nothing and has no known side effects. So what have you got to lose? In the next video, you'll learn the tapping points and the basic, super simple process of tapping. Real quickly, I want to go through the tapping points with you so you can watch me go through one rotation of it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so the first point that we're going to talk about, oh, and the PDF here should be right underneath here in a PDF document, so you can have that to follow along when you're doing your own tapping. All right, so the first point is the side of the hand. And the side of the hand is also called the psychological reversal point, and it's the point that we use when we're doing our setup statement. So you just tap right along there, and it doesn't matter what side you do it on. Remember, you're hitting the endpoints of meridians, and they run in pairs all the way down your body. So as I'm doing these, it doesn't matter if you tap on the right or the left, or if you'd rather do both. It's perfectly fine. So first point is the karate chop point, or the side of the hand. Then the next point that we use here on the illustration, it gives the top of the head first, but we're going to start with the side of the eye, and we end with the top of the head. Other places do it differently. This is how I learned, so this is how I'm teaching you. All right, so we use the eyebrow point, and that's right where the hair begins for most people. Or if you follow the curve of the nose, right where it meets, right where it curves into your eyebrow, that's where you would do it. So it's right there. Again, you could do it on either side. Then the side of the eye, you follow that bone around to the side of your eye. So you're not getting close to your eye, it's on that bone. And each time you tap, you're going to tap like 7 to 10 times on each place. But don't worry about counting, because you're going to be saying stuff while you're tapping. So, and each time doesn't have to be exactly the same number of taps. Then follow the bone to underneath, right underneath your pupil, and do that, tapping. The next point is the under your nose. You can put your fingers this way, you can tap this way, you can use one finger. I usually use 2 fingers just to make sure I get the point. Sometimes I use 3. Then the next point would be under the mouth or on your chin. Same thing, right there in the crease. The next point is the collarbone point. So it is about, I don't know, 2 finger widths down from the actual collarbone. And some people call it the sore spot because it seems to be there's a place that feels a little more tender. I like to tap all over that all over that area just to make sure I'm hitting the point. Other people like to use their whole hand and just that way they make sure that they're hitting it. But so it's right here. The next place is under the arm, and this is the one that people don't like to do in public, but it really isn't that bad. However, there are a couple ways to access this. One is to reach underneath your arm, lifting up this arm. And again, you can do it on both sides. It's about 4 fingers down from your armpit. And if you're doing it this way, then this hand is ready for the top of the head, which is our last point. However, this might look a little weird out in public, and you wouldn't want to do that. You can also access it this way. And then the last one is the top of the head. So you can either do it this way, and on the top of the head, I almost always use all of my fingers. Want to make sure that I get that. I actually like to tap all over, but it really is, if you were wearing a headband, it would be where those 2 fingers meet. Right there. If you use 4 fingers, you're going to hit it. So that's it. Very simple. Those are the tapping points. All right, now we're going to do 1 round of tapping, and we're going to do it with method 1, which is the super simple method, the easiest way to do it. You'll still get results. It's the way that most of the studies that have been done on tapping did this method. All right, so we are going to do a round of tapping, which is doing the setup statement by tapping on the karate chop point, and then 1 round would be following the rest of the 8 remaining points 1 time all the way through, and that's 1 round. And you may need to do several rounds in a tapping session, but that's when we say a round, that's what we mean, the setup statement and the 8 remaining points. All right, so before we start tapping, you are coming into tapping to alleviate some distress that you're feeling about a situation that's occurring. So have the idea about what you're going to tap on ready in your head, and we're going to identify what it is that we're going to tap on, and also the associated feelings. Now, sometimes it's hard to tease all of them out, but just the one that's presenting itself the most. We'll use an example that's given here on this PDF that's available for you. We're going to use the example of I'm worried. So the emotion is I'm worried about the situation, which is I think I'm going to fail a test that I'm taking tomorrow. So I've identified the problem that I'm going to tap on. I have identified the feeling associated with it, and I'm going to create the setup phrase. Setup phrase is super simple. It is even though, and then we list the problem that we're tapping on. So even though I'm feeling worried that I'm going to fail the test tomorrow, and then the second piece that's just as important, I accept myself and how I feel. So that's the setup statement. Even though the situation, and your acceptance and acknowledgement about how you feel. All right, so before we start tapping then, we are going to rate the level of distress. So when we're doing the setup statement, we're really going to feel the distress. We're really acknowledging that this is how we're feeling in our body. So you can just jot it down on a piece of paper and rate the level of distress that you feel prior to tapping, and then you're going to reassess at the end of your tapping session. All right, so here we go. 1 round of tapping. Make your rating about the level of distress that you feel about whatever it is that you're tapping on. All right, we're going to do the setup statement. Tapping on the side of the hand. Even though I am worried about failing this test tomorrow, I accept myself and how I feel. Setup statement is done at least 3 times. Even though I'm really worried about the test tomorrow, I accept that I feel this way and accept myself. Even though I have all this worry about failing that test, I accept myself and how I feel. And then we're just going to use a reminder phrase for the rest of the statements. So the short reminder phrase is going to be this worry. Okay? Starting with the eyebrow point. This worry. Moving to the side of the eye. All of this worry. You can repeat after me out loud or silently. Under the eye. This worry. Under the nose. This worry. The chin. This worry. And as you're saying this, really tune in to where you're feeling it in your body, how you're feeling it. This is the time for acknowledging the emotion that we're going to alleviate. But we have to acknowledge it first. Let's move on to the collarbone. This worry. Under the arm. This worry. Top of the head. You can use both hands if you want. All of this worry. Let's do one more. Eyebrow. This worry. Side of the eye. All of this worry. Underneath the eye. The worry about the test. Under the nose. This worry. Under the mouth. This worry. Collarbone. This worry. Under the arm. This worry. Top of the head. All of this worry. Okay, that was 2 rounds actually. And now reassess. Have you felt a shift? And if it's come down, that's awesome. Re-rate it. If it's higher than a 2 or a 3, do a couple more rounds. And if it goes up, don't worry too much about that. Sometimes while we're tapping, we come up with more ideas or thoughts about the actual issue, and a few times it might raise that up. Just do a couple more rounds and it should bring that stress level down. All right, so that's 1 round showing you how to use all the points with the basic recipe. It's super simple. Method number 1.